What's good, y'all? It's your girl Tati, and I'm back with another review of Dark Side of the Ring. And you guys, it just dawned on me that Ric Flair left his little Legends deal he had going on because he knew this shit was about to drop, and he knew something was gonna be said about his role in the whole situation. So, honestly, you guys, the first half I was like, okay, I heard this shit before. I heard this before, and then it just got worse from there, like towards the middle going towards the end. I was like, oh damn, like it all makes sense right now. Like, this is one of those things that you hear about in shoot interviews a lot. People who were there, people who weren't there had their input on it. And one thing I do like about this show is that they're not really worried about trying to save WWE reputation. They just want to get the facts out there, or at least the story out there, because you don't know who's telling the truth um, while they're telling what's going on. And to me, I honestly feel like when they don't get certain people to talk about what happened, it does take away a lot from the story. But people who were there and who are willing to tell the truth, or whatever the hell they feel like saying, it helps paint the picture of what happened, especially with the reenactments going on while they're telling what's going on. That really just, the visuals there just really put things in perspective. Like, this was I don't know, it just makes it worse than how we've imagined it all these years of hearing about it, and then actually getting to see like a reenactment, and the people who were there all coming to, well, not together, but them putting something together to tell this story. Like, it really, wow. I mean, they did a good job putting this together, but man, I swear, like, Ric Flair don't look good. Like, we're in 2021 where shit ain't acceptable. I mean, not to say that back then that was acceptable, but 2021, there's this cancel culture thing going on where you cancel people for doing things. Doesn't really make sense or whatever. And RVD said something that really stuck out to me. Like, they always say, don't meet your heroes, like, that's true. Like, someone you idolize can be a really, really shitty person. Like, I can never imagine meeting the Undertaker and he's just like a shitty person. Like, I'm just being biased right now. Like, I just couldn't imagine it. But Ric Flair, definitely, I could imagine that. What the flight attendant said that he did to her, I believe it 100%. I really do. Like, just knowing Ric Flair, how he is, like, he's that type of guy. Well, I don't know right now, who would have been like, he can grab any bitch that he want, and he wouldn't even have to do anything. He wouldn't have to approach anybody. Girls be flocking to him, and I know he's been used to that lifestyle, but for you to approach a woman who don't want nothing to do with you, who's not down with whatever you're trying to give her, like, that's not cool. Whether it's 2021 or 2002, like, when this happened. So, I totally believe it. So, basically, they were going to, like, the UK area. They had 4 shows in 4 days, and they had a pay-per-view that I can't even remember. Honestly, they was talking about it, and I was like, I don't remember this. But, they had a pay-per-view, and so they went to what, Scotland, they went to Germany, I guess London, and somewhere else, and they had the pay-per-view on the last day. Now, they all flew together on this private jet, and then they were going to fly back to Monday Night Raw back in the States on Monday. So the pay-per-view was on Sunday, and well, obviously it was taped because it happened hours before, because of time zones and whatnot. So now they were talking about there was a delay, weather delay, 7 hours. So they had to wait. So the flight attendants is giving out some liquor for them to drink or whatnot. And the lady said they gone through 3 carts of liquor to get to everybody. They didn't say how many people was on the plane, but it was like, that was unusual. They've never had to clear out a whole cart of liquor on a flight before. So imagine 3 carts. Like, that's crazy. So the liquor is just gone. They started serving people, and then after a while, they're like, fuck it, I'm serving myself. They're getting their own bottles. Everybody's getting their own drinks or whatnot. And everybody's drinking. So the people who was involved with all this shenanigans were basically people who were not in first class. So like, what just surprised me is to hear that Vince McMahon and Linda was on this fucking flight. Like, how the hell? Like, it just doesn't add up to me. Like, even though y'all in first class, like, you really don't hear all this shit going on back there. Like, y'all knocked out like that. I don't know anybody who sleeps like that and can't even hear people fighting and singing going on the microphone and all stuff. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But hey, that's what happened. So everybody's getting drunk. There's obviously pills involved, and you know, they're just wasted out of their minds. So I could totally see how when you're mixing pills and you're mixing alcohol, and God knows if anything else was involved, you know, it'll make you do shit that you probably would normally not do. And that's not to like give anybody an excuse for what they've done, but at the same time, it's like, y'all should have never did that. Y'all should have, you know, had a couple of drinks, you know, just cutting it up on the flight and just fall asleep. Y'all know y'all got a weather delay. You have a little bit more time to sleep and do wrong and go home. You know, that's what they should have done. And unfortunately, some people did not. I remember the flight attendant, she was like really uncomfortable. And she said one of the most uncomfortable thing that happened was 2 incidents. That's with Ric Flair. Ric Flair had his robe on. He was naked. He's walking around the flight, you know, swinging his thing around and, you know, just playing around. Everybody's laughing about it because this is Ric Flair. This is what he does. But the flight attendants, they don't know this shit. They're never around this stuff. And here's what I think happened, because they mentioned how the flight attendants, they went to the shows with them. They stayed in like the same like hotel with them, not in the rooms obviously, but like in the same hotel. So they got to spend time with the flight attendants as well, and they even went to parties together while they were there. And they said this is something common that normally happens, especially when they have their, you know, private planes and stuff. So I think Rick probably got just too comfortable thinking, hey, I was partying with her the other night, probably had a good time. At the time she was married, and she literally just had a baby like a little while before that. So he probably just took things the wrong way, right? Thinking that, oh, okay, well, I'll chill with her for a little bit, so she probably will be okay. And he backs her up to like that little area where they be having the food and stuff. And she couldn't go anywhere because there's like nothing to the side of her, nothing in back of her. The only way to go is in front of her, and Rick is in front of her. He opened up his robe. He's touching himself and everything. And to her, he said he wanted her to touch him. And obviously she wasn't down with it. She's crying. I think she kind of was trying to insinuate that he did have her touch him, and she was really uncomfortable, and nobody was helping her. She said after a while of him trying to, I guess, sexually assault her, she said with her own mouth that she don't think he was trying to rape her or anything like that. She thinks that he was trying to have a good time with her and took it too far. And, you know, things, basically sexual assault. Like, you really can't sugarcoat it. Just because there wasn't any intercourse going on doesn't mean that it's not sexual assault. So it was Goldust who went on the microphone, because he was on it earlier singing songs to Terry Runnels, because they had just had that nasty ass divorce. And he got back on there, and you know, he told her stop, leave her alone or whatnot, and he actually stopped and left her alone. And another thing that happened while she was there was when they I guess woke up, it was like breakfast time, and she went to ask Scott Hall if he was hungry and wanted breakfast. He grabbed her, pulled her shirt, and she said the buttons popped off. And he was saying things to her, and she said what stood out the most was like, he said he was gonna basically perform oral sex on her. And she started to try to pull away, and he started licking her face, like, you know, trying to touch her or whatever. And he's like so fucked up, he's just licking her face, you know, because he obviously can't get to her because she's putting up a fight. And she said it kept going on until he just knocked out. And they did play like a little voice clip of Scott talking about how he believed Kurt Hennig had put an H bomb in his drink, and he believed that's what happened. He has no recollection of what happened. He doesn't really think that he would have ever did anything to begin with. Now, what was pissing me off watching this was what's his name, Tommy Dreamer. He was denying everything about Flair, and I just felt like that was just so weird. Like, I don't know, man. Like, as a fan, you can even believe that Ric Flair probably would take it this far, but he was basically, if you didn't really see it, then don't say you don't think that they did it or whatever, because you never know. Like, people you love and care about, your best friend, your family, you never know what they would do, whether they're on drugs or not, or whether they're drunk or not. So he kept saying the whole time, nah, oh, Rick would have never did that. Oh, I think she thinks that something might have happened, but Rick would have never do that. I know Rick. Like, do you really know somebody that well that you can say their every move? Like, you can even say their thoughts? Like, do you really know that he didn't do anything to this girl? Like, it don't make sense. Like, he just was so biased because it's his friend. You know, you when you love and care about somebody, you do want to stick up for them, but it's easier for you to say, well, he ain't guilty. I know him. He wouldn't do that. Like, that does not, say anything. Like, if he did it, he did it. Like, whether that's your friend or not. Like I said, I do think that it's possible, yes, but I'm leaning more as in that happened. Like, it sounds like something that would have happened. And with Scott Hall too, he wasn't necessarily, he was like denying it, but not really. And then he came up with well, I think Kurt Hennig put something in my drink, and all that could be possible because things like that do happen. But that's the best thing to say when you're in the situation. There was even Kurt Hennig had put some shaving cream on Brock Lesnar's head, and they started fighting, and then it got to the point where both of them had slammed against the emergency doors, those doors that you obviously can't open during a flight. And it was just getting so hectic. Whatchamacallit, oh god, what's his name, I'm trying to remember his name. Had hit Bradshaw right on the thing. Who was it? Michael Hayes, yeah. So he hit him because he had a wound on his forehead, and he hit him right where he had his wound at, and he started bleeding. And you already know Bradshaw, he may be a bitch, but like, he could make you his bitch, especially back then. And he just knocked Michael out. Like what the fuck? Like, he was sleeping, and you just gonna just hurt him like that, and he starts bleeding again, and things got out of control. A little while after that, then Sean Waltman, he comes and actually cuts Michael's ponytail off, and you already know Michael, he was holding on to that ponytail until he fucking died, really. So obviously he was pissed off when he woke up. And it was a lot of stupid shit that was going on this flight, where even after they got off the flight, the whole airplane was just trash. Like, seats came off, trash everywhere. The flight attendant said that they were picking up syringes to the point where they didn't want to clean anymore. But the company of the jet was like, hey, y'all need to clean this shit up. Like, we can't ruin their reputation. And that's where things get really fucked up, because these ladies, they were saying that things happened to them on the plane. They were saying how they didn't want to clean up, they didn't feel safe picking up syringes. And these guys higher up in this company are just like, hey man, whatever happened, just put it behind you and move on. They made a mess, clean it up. They have high profile sports teams and clients that they take from A to B and B to A, and they don't want no problem, so keep your mouth shut. And unfortunately, this is how women have to live, where when something happens, other people are just like, hey man, get over it. And especially when it's people who like Vince McMahon, WWE, like billion-dollar companies, like, what could you possibly do? And one of the girls who was not actually interviewed on the episode, she decided that she was going to take it to court, and she called the other flight attendant that was actually on the show and said, hey, let's go take this to court and sue them. And they did, and unfortunately all they got was money from it, just a little settlement. Like, they didn't even want to take it to trial or nothing. I just don't understand how Vince McMahon and Linda was on this flight and shit was going on like that. Like, it just don't make sense to me at all how they were there. Like, y'all was literally ignoring everything. And even JR was like, no matter what happened, because he's like, in charge of the talent relations, he had to be the one to basically be the to come out and be responsible for everything. He had to fire who he fired. He fired no, not Goldust. He fired Scott Hall, obviously. He fired Kurt Hennig. And it's funny because the guy who was doing the interview was asking JR, why didn't Ric Flair get fired? And it's obvious, like, he's buddy with Vince McMahon. He's one of those legends. I mean, who doesn't know Ric Flair? And unfortunately, when your name holds some kind of weight in this world, like, you can get away with anything. And he literally did. So now, like, as soon as the episode finished, I was like, hold on. It makes sense now. Like, obviously, they knew this episode was going to come out. So now it looks better for him to, kind of disassociate himself away from WWE, have anything pop off from this interview, which it will. Like, something's gonna happen tomorrow where maybe 2 million women just be like, hey, something happened to me too, and it's just unfortunate. Like, the flight attendants, they took the money. The lady said her husband didn't want things to be out on the news with their name. He didn't want no problems, just take the money and whatever. So they didn't disclose the amount or whatever, but I'm pretty sure it was a good amount of money, and she regrets it. Like, something really happened to you. I don't want to say she should have just taken it all the way, but why not? Why not try to get some justice about what happened to you? And that's the same thing Tommy Dreamer said. He was like, why not try to get justice if someone really hurt you? So he was basically saying, hey, then I don't believe that happened to you. I don't think that's the truth. She could have been scared. Y'all got a whole bunch of money. Y'all could make anything happen if you wanted to. And she was scared and probably just didn't want to take it too far. And, till this day, she's saying that it has affected her. And, it's a scary situation to be in. And this is just like crazy. Like, it really is. Like Tommy Dreamer, I was just like, bro, like, shut the fuck up. Like, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. Just because y'all cool don't mean that he's an angel. He's not a saint. Like, this is Ric Flair. Like, if you said somebody else, maybe I'll probably take it into consideration, but Ric Flair, hey man, I mean, I can believe it. But just throwing out money just to say, hey man, to be quiet, move on or whatnot, this is what they do. Big corporations do this all the time just to keep things hush hush, or just to keep things from blowing out of proportion, just to keep their reputation. And WWE 100%, I believe, would do something like that. And Ric Flair is one of their biggest stars ever, so why not, right? I mean, this is just so crazy. Like I said, Vince McMahon and Linda was really on this flight. Doesn't make sense to me at all. The one thing that I've always heard that happened was not mentioned on this episode was about how Kurt had peed on Linda. I don't know where they get that from. If Vince McMahon was really on this flight, that shit would have never gone down. Wow, this was so crazy. Like, I'm like eager to see what's gonna happen with Ric Flair now. Like, what are people gonna say? Like I said, like, people have heard about this gone on, but this particular show just really painted the picture in a way where it's like, damn, like, the visuals just really make it something else. And now people are going to be like, hey man, Rick needs to be held accountable. And Scott Hall, like, nobody cares about the drugs and the drinking and stuff like that. It's really the assault is what people are going to talk about. And I don't know, like, I just couldn't imagine being there, especially as a flight attendant. Like, obviously I would have been happy that I got to be around these people, but once things start getting crazy and stuff like that, like, I would try to keep myself away. And the lady said once that incident happened with Scott Hall, she said she stayed back there, never came out until they landed. She waited till everybody got off the plane before she moved from that spot because she wanted to make sure nothing else happened to her. And you know what? I mean, I believe it. I really do. I think something really did happen. And it is really disappointing to hear someone say what they went through. And you know, sometimes people just don't believe you, especially when it's somebody like Ric Flair. People idolize him, and Scott Hall too. Yeah, Razor Ramon. Like, who didn't, who didn't love these guys? So now people probably surprised to hear this. And with Dark Side of the Ring, they're bringing light to obviously older issues. And it's 2021, man. Like, people are really gonna talk about this, and I can really see this being a big headache for WWE, and especially Ric Flair tomorrow and the days and weeks to come. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Next week is going to be about Chris Kanyon, so this is going to be super interesting. Bye.